Hey, pushing that new little video. I thought it would make a little difference than doing COVID stuff because everybody's doing videos on COVID. So, season of kayaking is starting. We're starting to reopen here in the province of British Columbia. So, I'm going to start going back on the water soon. So, I thought I would make a video of my upgraded safety system that I'm going to try this year. And for those that follow the Urban Prepper, which is pretty much everyone, because he's so good and popular, I built my system out of the three tiers that he always talks about, and it applies to so many things. And so I wanted to talk about how it applies to my CAC and my safety as well. So behind here, I got three kits that I carry for three different situations. And I'll start from my further away and get closer to me, which means that less risky to more risky, meaning that the worst thing that could happen in kayaking would be that I'm separated from my boat and all I'm left with is me in the ocean. So that will be the last one, which is my PDF. So let's start with the first one. I carry other stuff that pretty much everybody on kayaking carry, and through the course of the summer, as I do trips, I'll probably show some stuff here and there. So I carry like throw ropes and tow ropes and things like that. But this is more about there's an emergency. How can I signal for help? And also, as I talk, I may I'm still there's new things that may be added, and I'll show some pictures of interesting device that I'm considering, or I'm not quite decided yet on which one and where to go. So the first one would be like a situation that let's say there's an incident. I'm with the boat. I need to be identified, but we're with the boat. We're with a group. We're either together, and I just need to be found by rescue. So this bag is attached behind my seat, and so I can get it out. And inside, what I went with is I changed a little bit the system that I used to have. So most boats, well, kayaks falls in between falls a little bit between your cracks. A lot of the boats are mandatory to carry flares and a certain amount of flares depending on the size of the boats. But because of the size of a kayak, a lot of time flares are not mandatory, but still we kayakers carry some because they're great tools. The problem with the flares is they're very expensive and bulky as well, especially for a kayak to carry them in a certain positions. And the third things that kind of makes me draw is that price versus the longevity of them. So a lot of the flares that I've seen that would be recommended or buy, they're sometimes like the good ones too. They're some of them are like $150 each, but they only last for about 2 years. So not only that now you just spend $150 for something that you may not use, and you have to dispose of them. And when you dispose, you have to go to a special place because obviously they're flammable products. You cannot just throw that in the garbage. So there's a lot of thing. And like I said, every 2 years you need to change. So I thought easier and still kind of easier fashion to do it would be to go with a flare gun. So why did I go with a flare gun? The whole kit that I have right now was something like $80, and this is because it came with a gun. To buy, and actually this year I bought an extra set, which you'll see. I think it was only $30. And so instead of changing every like $150 every time, every 2 years, now I'm changing every $30 every year, every 30, which big change in the price. A lot of time though, reason that people don't recommend flare guns is that they're a little bit like you can get bad. What I've been reading is that a lot of time they're not as reliable because sometimes like the cartridge can kind of go bad and stuff. So that is a risk to take. But I mean, a lot of the kits do have them inside, so it's not like that much of a bad risk. So with this kit came, I got 3 flares, and actually that one was interesting because it came also with a practice flare. So I think I didn't try it. As you can see, it's all full. But this year I'm going to be practicing this in the coming weeks. I'm going to go in the water, practice, and actually see how this system works. So I may practice with this. As I think it's just don't throw stuff, but it throws the cartridge, so you can have like an idea. So I got 3 cartridge. So the purpose of this would be to, there's an emergency. I have called my mayday, mayday, and then now I throw 3 flares up to signal my position. So even if I'm not heard with my VHS radio, people could see that I'm having an emergency. So that's one of the purpose of the flares, is to more signal there's an emergency at this point and boats are pushing to. So that's the purpose of the flares, not so much to be found, but to signal that I'm having an emergency right here. So if I have a medical emergency, like I said, or having an medical emergency or something, take the guns, shoot 3, and it's behind my cockpit. So that's what's in this bag. I also have an extra a signal mirror inside the bag, and I'm probably gonna put a linger over here, so obviously so that you don't lose it and then it goes down the sea. So need to put a little linger at the end of this. So that's my first kind of emergency has happened. I need to signals for what's going on. But I still have my boat. I still have access to everything that I have. I have access to maybe even other people. So it's just a signal that there's an emergency going on. And then if an helicopter would show up and it's a bright day and I have the sun, then I can signal with my mirror. So that's the small kit that I carry in the back of my seat. The next layer of emergency would be to, I still have access to my boat, but now either I have, we have landed on an island that has absolutely nothing, so either find a little bay, go on the side, or we went for the day and there's an emergency, so basically it's like a EDC or a survival bag that I always have, that I go for day stuff. It's called a ditch bag in the kayaking world. And as well, if I have time, so let's say for whatever reason I'm with my boat and something pushed me that I have to ditch the boat and to go to a platform or something, I can still have time to hook that on me or to grab it. So it's a ditch bag, and this is what it means. Just if you have to ditch out of your boat, you can grab this. Or if you're landing somewhere and you're for example, if you went for the day and an emergency happened, you can spend the night. So that's the purpose of that bag. The bag itself is a useful tool. For those that ever been, I've seen this, is I did a kayak trip once, course. It was in the lake, and people were swimming like just inside the lake, and they had this little bag kind of floating, and so they put like their towels and stuff like this, and also it serves as a marker. So it's a little bit, that's exactly what it is. So on each side of this bag, I can inflate it, and it can become a floating device itself. So the bag is a dry bag. I can leave stuff inside, obviously, but also if I need something else, so obviously it's bright, so that use as well. And as you can see, there's handle, and so if I inflate this to had purpose on like to floating device on my PFD or something like this can be used as well. And so, like for example, exactly like this, like with the I could use it and have me flotation. So if I have to ditch the boat, I thought if I'm going to have a dry bag, might as well have a dry bag that has a useful thing. And so basically what you do is you push air inside that with your mouth, and there's two balloons inside that goes up. It's a dry bag, so obviously all the contents stays dry, and but the bag, like I was saying, can be used. So again, the purpose of this is that I have to spend an overnight that I didn't plan to, or I have to respond to an emergency of it. So first thing would be to have clothes. So what I did was to add a top layer, a mid layer for my body, so then I could take the wet clothes and then put this on. I have a spare, and this is what I was telling. So now, once you have the gun, all you have to do is buy those flare, and that was like $30. And so I can, my goal was to the new pack that I'll buy will be to move them inside the bag, and then so each year basically I'll buy a new pack, and then the expired ones or about to expire one will be in my ditch bag, and those ones will be in the back. So they'll be I will always have the newest inside, so it's better quality and less chance of misfiring. And then if let's say now I've signaled my thing, I'm on the beach and I see a boat or I see a helicopter or something is about and I want to be identified. Now I have also 3 more flares to signals because I still have the gun. If I have my boat, obviously. But this is why I put extra ones into the ditch bag. I also added a spare one phone. So I don't know if anybody. They used to be big, and then I don't know, they disappeared. And then on eBay, noticed that there was this big sale because they used to be $100 a phone, and I think on eBay there was this sale. I think they were $20 each or something like that instead of the $100. So I bought some. So what they are is that they're AAA's phone. Yes, they work on AAA. So I don't know if you can see it probably, but this is a battery here. So this phone can work for 911. You can also buy like a SIM card, put that in, and you could make like actual phone call, which I'll probably do at one point. You know, you buy like those disposable SIM cards, and it also has little gadgety stuff. So you have like a flashlight and kind of an alarm. So again, that's uh, like if somebody's passing near and stuff, I could make a signal with it. But yeah, they're AAA battery phone, so that means I don't need to I can call 911. Doesn't mean that it would work because obviously a lot of places that I kayak don't have cell coverage, but sometimes they do. In the back, I've put also a list of all, especially when I put like a SIM card with it, and it comes with this dry bag. I put a list of all the phone numbers that are important. So like Coast Guards and other places that I travel, all in BC. There was a book that I had that had all the lists of phone calls that you can do and things like that. So that means if let's say I stay with someone and say, hey, paddle somewhere, and once you reach X, or even so, let's say I do not have cell coverage, I can give that to someone and say when you reach a place and stuff, you can call that list of number, you can call 911, you can do whatever, but they have a phone and we can give it, and it's all protected, and you can put other stuff obviously with that stuff because it's waterproof. But I thought for $20 that was a good idea to put in a ditch bag. So that's my way. That's in there. I also put an extra battery pack that I keep, so a USB battery packs with some extra cables over here. And again, recharging phone because sometimes phones can't work. But also this year, and I'll talk a little bit more when I get my radio. I changed my radio, and this can come in handy, and so I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to my radio. But I got a USB bank that I keep, obviously, refresh, and I double check before I do trips and stuff like this. I don't know how many milliamps it is. 11,000 milliamp hour. So still, like, to recharge one phone, or we'll see about the radio and stuff. And again, I have like cables and stuff. The other thing too that I added, it's a flameless cooking system. So it's a little bit like the MRE concept, but instead of being in the bags, the system. So I just add water with one of those envelopes that are inside there, and then the whole container can heat. And so whatever I put in there, I can heat. So I can boil water. And also now I can produce heat. So I thought, for this size, that's good, and especially that the sea waters would be pretty prominent all over me. So I could use the water to warm stuff and make later tea. So I got bouillon in there, so just create some heat. And the system, so it just comes in this little cup, and so that way I don't have to start a fire or anything. I just have to cook something else. Little survival candle again to create some heat and stay warm. I got a freeze dry dinner, and so if I boil the water, I'm able to put that in. I have like the extra bags for this heater, so I can use it a few times. A little knife. I also have the live fire, the mini one, so if I would want to start a fire. And I got a little strike force in there. A safety light, I think they're 8 hours. So at least, I could have 8 hours, and I have 2 of them, so that's like 2 days of light at night. Little saw, those kind of disposable portable saw. And also, so because I'm surrounded with seawater, a lot of them cannot be drinking. The system to make those are very expensive. It's close to $1,000 with reverse osmosis for an emergency, and to put an emergency bag would be almost not worth it. And also they don't, like, it apparently takes a lot of time, like, to pump it and everything. So what I did was I added those little pockets of water. So basically now I have 2 units of water, and so with this system, that means I could boil one if I don't have access. A lot of the place I go, they don't have actually fresh water, and that's an issue because with your boat you have to bring fresh water. So if I would have, for example, be in a ditch situation where I only have whatever it's in the bag, and I'm on like literally a place where there's no fresh water and there's no rain or anything like that, at least I have 2 sections that I can breathe, I can drink. And so, and I was thinking of bottles of water, but they can be easy to squeeze and everything. This is a little bit more resistant and lasts longer, and so I put 2 of those in here. And then if I do find water, I have a little straw, and so I can filter chlorine water, and also I put some Aquamir tablets in there so I could make water. And actually, the bag could be used for that as well. So that means I could carry, I could collect fresh water, or like if it rains, I could use the bag because it's a dry bag. So I could separate my water from that survival blanket, so that I can make a little those ones are like the bigger ones, and so I can either make a little shelter or cover myself. And there's another part of my system that I'll show that with this would go very well. And then I added a little radio, and those are the Battle Fang, cheap kind of Japanese, Chinese. And why did I put the Battle Fang? First, it's cheap, so even if the water hits it or something, it's like 30 or 40 bucks. But I'm using a reason that a lot of people don't like them. They don't have filters. So a lot of radios, if you're using ham radios, they have filters so that you cannot go outside the band that you're using. So if I'm supposed to talk between this and this, I can only talk between this and this, and there's filters inside the radio that prevents me from going outside and stuff. Those radios do not have those, and so you have to be careful when you use it for that purpose, because you could talk to something that you're not legally supposed to talk to. But that means I can use this at my advantage in the marine world. Why is that? Well, in the marine world, they have certain frequency that are assigned to the marine VHS channels. When you have your license, which I have, they use it as channels. So you talk channel 1, channel 2, channel 66, channel 16. And all those have frequencies, but you don't say you're talking on that frequency. You're using a certain, you're talking on a channel. Well, now I can use that radio to do that. And so that means now I have a backup radio. So if somebody, for example, is staying at camp and then lost their VHF radio or didn't have their VHF radio, I can connect them on there. And so let's say I want to go on 66 and I'm about to go, I can still talk on them with their VHF radio. So I have basically a backup radio. The other advantage of this is that I have an antenna here that I can put higher up. One of the problem with the VHF radio is that they're very low input, so they're like 5 watts, and you only have like this much of the antenna to talk, and so that means it doesn't cover as much. And so if I'm trying to reach something high, just like any VHF is from antenna to antenna, so it can be hard to reach. So what I did is I put an antenna inside there, and so if I'm stuck on an island and I have a tree, I could put this antenna higher up, connect this radio, go on channel 16, the frequency of channel 16, use my Battle Fang to talk on that and throw my Mayday Mayday. Or again, if a kayaker decides to, okay, we're gonna go grab some help or something back at camp or something like that, I can continue to communicate with them if I give them, let's say, my VHF radio by talking on the channel that is this. And so it's a small kit, very cheap, easy to put in a ditch bag, and so that's why I added all this. And that's pretty much it. So basically I have everything covered, from warmth to little shelter to communication to call for more help and thing. So in the next video we'll go it's what on my person and what kind of went with that idea. So that was kind of tiers 2, and tiers 1 would be exactly what I have on me at all times. So that means I've lost the boat. I couldn't even grab my ditch bag. Let's say I flipped over and then the current just brought my boat out. And so now what I'm left with, it's only what I have on my person, and that's what the philosophy is about. So we'll talk about that on the next video.